annuity quote, which I forwarded to you all at your email addresses. I didn't have Alex, and I think we're sending that off, so.
Okay, yeah, we just printed them out. That was one of the things we were doing, so we have hard copies of them here.
Wonderful, thank you very much. So, Carrie, should I turn this over to you for kind of the overview of what's going on? Me or Jeff? Okay.
I can get it started, because Gary will get into the specifics of the carriers and how they operate, but I can tee it up, so to speak. So good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeff Dietrich. We will talk through the document, explain what it's showing, the process. If there's questions, just shout them out. We want to make sure you understand and are comfortable with everything and get all your questions answered. So before I get into it, are there any questions or comments, or should I just start from the top?
I'd say go ahead and start from the top, and we'll go from there.
All right, sounds good. So what this document is summarizing is twofold. The first page, titled Preliminary Annuity Quotes, is summarizing the benefits being annuitized, as well as the timing around the annuitization and the insurance companies that are options to provide those annuities, as well as the cost from those insurance companies. The second, the following 4 pages of the document is credit information, financial information on the insurance companies that are participating here. So if I just back up a second, the process of annuitizing pension benefits is one that is designed to transfer the financial and administrative responsibility associated with those benefits away from you and to a qualified insurance company. A qualified insurance company in the corporate world, as overseen by the Department of Labor, is one of high credit, safety, capitalization, and basically clean balance sheets. Said simply, it's an insurance company that we expect to be around to make good on these promises. The annuity itself, it is an annuity, but when you think about it, it's a product that is built to replicate and preserve the pension benefits. So the only difference between what is happening now in the plan and what happens under the annuity is that an insurance company is responsible for it instead of you. Benefit-wise, everything else is the same. There's a transition of benefits, and this is where it is extremely important to the participants, because this directly affects them, especially retirees who are receiving monthly pensions. But that transition is seamless. So the plan makes their last payment effectively, it's been done in September, and the insurance company picks up in October. And the only difference to the participant is where the monthly pension is now coming from. If the participants are receiving direct deposit, we set them up with the same direct deposit information. If they're having taxes withheld, that is set up the same that it is currently. So like I said, the only difference is the payment is coming from a different source, and now it's being guaranteed by the insurance company instead of the city. So at top in the document, under the participant data section, we outline the due participants. Bonnie let us know that we had a typo in there for Mr. Chair, but so we'll update that and get that T knocked out of there. But it outlines their ages, their gender, their benefit forms. Mr. Chair has a joint benefit, so that's a benefit that's paid over 2 lives. So that's something.
I just want you to know that Mr. Chair is one of the trustees.
Okay, so on the call?
Yes, sir, that's me.
Yeah, so he's here.
All right. Where your benefit is different, it's payable over, 2 lifetimes, as opposed to Ms. Schultz's benefit that it pays her, and stops upon her death. So that information is critical to the pricing of the annuity, because The insurance company is basically building assumptions as to how long they expect to make those payments, and that's based on gender, age, obviously payment amount, and form. The UCD and liability effective date is October 1st. That's when the insurance company not only starts payments, but, when it's their liability going forward. Commission, this is a insurance product, it pays a commission, that's how we're compensated. So it's paid out of the annuity premium to us by the insurance company, and that's the same for all insurance companies. Below that, you have the purchase quotes. We align them by insurance company, and then you can look at the total if you were to put both annuities with the same insurance company. But you can also pick and choose if you did want to separate the quotes. Typically, we see that them go with the same insurance company just for ease of remembering where the benefits are, but they don't have to be, because these are individual quotes. They will stand alone on their own. The Pacific Life quote has an asterisk next to it. They have an administrative restriction where they cannot commence benefits until 11/1. So what their bid offers is a payment on 11/1 that includes the October, the 10/1 payment. Personally, I don't like that option. I don't think it's really valuable. You want continuity with the benefit payments, but they are one of the carriers in the market. They have that administrative restriction, which happens this time of year because of just the market activity gets real busy. So that's the only difference other than cost from one carrier to the next. Don't have it on here, but Carrie, when are these quotes valid? These quotes will expire, but when is the first expiration? Usually it's about 7 days, a week.
Actually, first expiration will be the 15th September.
Okay, so we'll just assume that for everybody. I know Principal's quote, for instance, is actually valid until October 6th, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
But some of the quotes will start expiring in a week, and then if they expire, they would need to be updated if no decision is made. So they're valid for acceptance, which is, D13, we want to move forward with X company. That's acceptance, that's verbal acceptance. We then lock in the pricing. If we do that prior to the expiration date, the cost holds. If it gets beyond the expiration date, it would need to be updated to show the value based on current interest rates.
Yeah, I think our plan is to go with something today. So.
Then we don't have to worry about expiration.
Yeah.
And that would be the best outcome, because that would give us the maximum amount of time to get everything set up for 10/1 so that there's continuity in the payments. So that's the quote summary. Any questions on anything that I mentioned or anything on that first page?
No, I don't have any. Do you have any, sir? Any questions?
Sheila, on the first page, Robert Gia's name is spelled wrong.
Yeah, that's what they said in the beginning, that, the attorney, told them that he has a T in it, so they know that they have to correct his name.
Okay, I didn't hear that part, sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, thanks for watching. All right, so no questions at this point.
Okay. So the next 4 pages are data output that we use to analyze these insurance companies. So I know this is not an ERISA plan, but in the qualified corporate world, which is where we operate mostly, there are federal regulations that are kind of dictated by the IRS, the Department of Labor. There's federal legislation known as ERISA that came out in the mid-70s that has protections and rules and regulations around pensions, retirement plans in general. And one of the items that, one of the regulations that came out in the mid-90s from the Department of Labor was an interpretive bulletin known as 95-1. And it really is the guidance to pension plan sponsors as to how to go about finding an insurance company and the credit requirements that I mentioned earlier. And the interpretive bulletin talks about things like the size of the company. Is it large enough to take on the obligation? We talk about the capital levels of the insurance company. We talk about the balance sheet, both the asset and the liability side, the quality and diversification of the assets. And then from a liability side, where are these insurance companies writing their business? How are they managing risk on their policies or liabilities? So this information is what we use to analyze the insurance companies. The Department of Labor's interpretive bulletin actually created our existence. We were around before it, but it substantiated what they refer to as an independent expert. So it's a specialist that not only does what we talked about in the first page, which is more the brokerage side of this process. It's insurance brokerage, finding multiple companies to compete and managing that policy transition. But on the credit side of it, analyze the insurance companies for safety. They refer to that as this interpretive bulletin. And this is the data that we use to qualify the insurance company. So you probably recognize most, if not all, of the insurance companies that are listed. They're mostly household names. There's a lot in this market that aren't. When you look in the group market where you're doing hundreds of participants at one time. But the data on this side, like I said, is what we use to support the value of the carrier. So if you start at the top of it's the second page for the first page of the credit, it shows their ratings. All of these carriers are either, with AM Best, they're all superior rated. They all have the second highest rating on the AM Best schedule, and then they are excellent across the other scales. The convex at the bottom of that top box shows where those particular insurance companies sit relative to the rest of the insurance companies in the country, ratings-wise. It's a percentile. So when you look at MetLife, they are in the 95th percentile of insurance companies from a rating standpoint. So these are all very highly rated. These are the cream of the crop, so to speak, of the insurance industry. The dollar figures in this are in thousands. So when we look at size of the insurance companies, right below that, starts with size. We're talking about multi-billion, $100 billion general accounts. So they're all large enough to handle, $300,000 of liability.
Right.
The key figure underneath the asset information is their surplus and reserves. We see companies usually surplus in the 6 to 9% range, sometimes a little higher, sometimes a little lower. AVR is asset valuation reserves. Insurance companies are state regulated, and they're required to hold certain levels of cash capital based on their risk profile. So if they're investing in equities, they have to hold more reserves than if they were invested in some kind of safe or fixed income. And that's what you see, and that's what the box below that shows. It shows that the portfolios, this is the general account assets of the insurance company and how they break down. And what you'll see is that bonds, and these are corporate bonds, and usually commercial mortgages, owned properties, are the main investments of these insurance companies, fixed income, predictable, safe income. From a safety standpoint, we look at flip pages. Asset quality is page 3, top of page 3. This shows the bond portfolio quality. We look at investment grade, which is class 1 and class 2 bonds, and non-investment grade. That's really what we're looking at is non-investment grade. Those are the more likely to default, class 3 through 6. So we're looking at portfolios that have, 6% or less non-investment grade, said differently, 94% up and up investment grade holdings. We then look at that non-investment grade or really total bond portfolio, total mortgage portfolio to look for those that are not performing. And they're either, negligible, de minimis, or none at all. So when you look at where the insurance company is investing the premium dollars that you pay for them to pay back to you in the pension, they're investing it in high quality, predictable fixed income. You see very little equity exposure. That's what that third page shows there. If we move along, fourth page is that we really don't get into. Earnings profitability is not necessarily a measure of safety. But the final page is the liability side. These insurance companies in the industry they're known as life and annuity companies. And when you think about the annuity, we know that you're putting the money in up front, the insurance company is paying you back for your lifetime. Life insurance is the opposite. Life insurance is you're paying the insurance company, and upon your death, they pay you back the death benefit in their simplest forms. So they're natural hedges from the standpoint of the greatest risk that these insurance companies are exposed to is mortality, life expectancy. Are you going to die early, or are you going to live forever? And depending on whether it's life insurance or annuity, that's a win or a loss for them. So they're natural hedges, that's how they balance that. On one side, they have mortality that aligns with kind of the opposite effect on the other side, between life and annuity. And that's what this page shows. It shows how their books are broken down, both from a standpoint of where they're writing their business, group channels, which is essentially what this is, employer purchased insurance versus retail. That's any one of us going out and buying an insurance policy. So with channels and then the products. We also look at earnings from a standpoint of, and that's the prior page, it shows us where it shows that impact of the hedging. If you can, think back to COVID provided uncertainty around life expectancy. We really didn't know what was going to happen, and then we saw that kind of fallout from it. And what that did for insurance companies, the life insurance business, is it created a loss. It created a loss because there were premature deaths that it had to pay out the policies on before they thought they would. So from an earnings standpoint, that was a negative impact to the carriers. But on the other side of it, the annuity side, that's a positive because they collected premium up front on similar life expectancies and had to pay less out. So the earnings, one of the things that we look for in earnings, it's not a measure of safety. We look at it to see that hedging between the companies, negatives and positives, so to speak. So, from a credit standpoint, they're all excellent companies. You can look into any one category and there's a winner and a loser, so to speak. One performs better than the other in different categories. But when you round them all out, they're excellent companies. You have, I think one difference that I'll point out, and then I'll stop there, that's really not in this report. It's not something that the Department of Labor talks about, but I'll mention it because it's a difference. You have Principal and MetLife, who are publicly traded insurance companies, and then you have United of Omaha and Pacific Life, who are private, who are mutual insurance companies. They're not publicly traded. It really, that's more of a personal item as to how people look at that. From a safety standpoint, it really has no impact on your safety going forward. So that's all. Any questions on and any of the financial metrics or how the carriers perform?
No, I don't have any of these.
I don't have any.
No, I think we're good on that.
Okay. From a decision standpoint, there are administrative differences from company to company. I'm gonna let Terry explain that, because once we select an insurance company, we then begin the installation process of getting these benefits set up so that they can start their payment on October 1st. And it is a little different from one company to the next. Some are a little bit, less requirements, so to speak, than others.
Okay.
So, Terry, you want to talk about, the differences from company to company?
Yeah, so, and I'll just kind of go right down the line here in no particular order, just keep it kind of left to right. Principal, and really all the companies are excellent to work with, so I don't want to say, you know, like one is better or worse than the other, they just are different. So Principal does accept original election forms, and there's no requirement for like a proof of date of birth, so no copies of driver's license or birth certificate or anything like that is required. There is one form to sign, the commission disclosure form, that the plan sponsor, someone authorized on behalf of the plan sponsor would sign that. And there may be an election form to sign. If original election forms can't be produced, then you would have each participant would have to complete an application. They would have to sign those. However, if you do have the original election forms, it goes pretty quickly and easily there. United of Omaha, a little bit more of paperwork involved with them. There is a kind of more of a formal application to be completed with signatures of the annuitant, signature of spouse if applicable, and the plan sponsor, there's a signature spot on there as well. And I believe there is also a spot for signature of notary public for each of the, like the annuitant and the spouse. So that's adding a little bit of a layer in there, you know, to accomplish the application process for that. Thirdly, MetLife, there's an application for them. It's actually a pretty simple application. However, they do require a proof of date of birth. So it would be a driver's license for each participant, and for Mr. Chair, his spouse would also need a driver's license, or a birth certificate, or when you travel in foreign countries, holy cow, I just said thank you, passport. That's right. So they do require that one additional step, you know, in that whole process. And Pacific Life, kind of the same process as well. They do require that, and I believe Pacific Life also requires a marriage certificate proving the marriage for anyone with a J&S benefit. So,
So, I mean, I don't think, you know, just from a legal perspective, maybe it's not legal perspective, but you know, I mean, I just don't feel that Pacific Life meets our requirements just because of they would skip a payment. And I don't feel like that's fair to the participants.
I'm kind of concerned about Ms. Yeah, I'm kind of concerned about Ms. Schultz in that, because I think she relies a lot on that payment. And I don't know if that would be a good thing for her to miss that payment. So.
Right.
Yeah, I would tend to agree too. I don't think Pacific Life should be really considered because of that. I think you have 3 other viable companies that can do it on time.
I guess.
And just for the committee knowledge, so the balance in the investment account is $573,025.
Okay.
So you have sufficient funds to pick any of the providers.
All right. With this meeting, let me just ask you this real quick, because there will be, funds left over? Is this meeting appropriate to talk about what to do with those funds? Or are we just concentrating on what we got here?
Yeah, I think we should concentrate on what we're doing right now, and then we'll work with the investment consultant, to get the money invested, whether it's in CDs or we're gonna buy bonds or something, to hold it. I feel like ultimately that's gonna be just the security against the failure of any of these companies,
Right.
And I'm not saying that's gonna happen. I'm just saying that, those assets shouldn't be distributed. I mean, they'd be reverted to the employer at the end and back to the state to pay them, for the amounts that they put into the fund. But I don't think that should happen until the last participant pays the last penny that they're due.
Okay.
One thing that I didn't mention is that each of these annuities, so each benefit is protected under what would be known as the Florida State Guarantee Fund. Guarantee funds are like the FDIC, but they back insurance policyholders. So if something were to happen to the insurance company, each participant would be insured up to $250,000 in the state of Florida. So essentially, these benefits would be fully funded if something were to happen to the insurance company.
Excellent.
Because
Good.
you didn't mention that in the credit side, but they have
Good
it.
to know.
Yeah, that makes it easy. I mean, that makes it less of a critical decision on which company to go with, knowing that they're gonna be backed up no matter what.
Yeah.
I guess one concern I have, and I don't know who to ask on this one, but the contact with Ms. Schultz, do we have good contact with her, or? Cause she's gotta provide like a driver's license or something like that, I don't.
I have a phone number for her. I can reach out to her.
Okay.
Um,
What I don't wanna do is have her, if we don't have good contact with her and she needs to get extra paperwork together,
correct.
that might be hard for her to get her payment on time.
I can reach out.
Is rate considered the option that doesn't, is they're the only ones that don't require that, Carrie?
Correct.
So that would be required for United of Omaha and that.
So if we went with principal, we could basically take the paperwork that we've already filled out, that's been filled out and that is currently working the way that it should, and transfer that paperwork directly to principal, is that correct?
Yes, what they're looking for, and this is the difference between kind of doing these individually and doing these as a group of hundreds of people. When you're doing them as a group, the insurance company is taking the employer, the plan sponsor's word for the certification of the data that this person is who we say they are. And then they'll get social security numbers and they'll do checks and make sure all that stuff, but they don't need any participant level involvement. The individual is the same product, but the processes for some of the companies are different because of the individual nature of it. And that's where they do look for more than just the employer certification. Principal does it the same for both individual and group. So employer certification through the original election form that says, I'm Diane Schultz, this is my benefit that I'm taking, here's my date of birth, sign off on it. That is sufficient for principal to say that this is what is supposed to be paid and this person is who the employer is saying they are.
Okay, all right. I haven't had contact with her in many years, and I would just be concerned that we wouldn't be able to get her paperwork put together in time for her and have her miss that payment, which is what we're trying to avoid in the first place, so.
Yeah. Now, we will provide you with a letter that you can use. Obviously, Mr. Chair, you know what's going on, but you can use that to notify Ms. Schultz about, what's going on, that her benefit has been annuitized with ABC Insurance Company, some information on the company, and they're their quality, and then that October payments would be coming from the insurance company going forward. Nothing else is changing. But if she gets a check, that's very helpful, so that when she gets the check from, principal, MetLife, whoever it is, and doesn't recognize it, because she's not expecting something from them, throws it out, or just, doesn't open it, this letter helps to let her know that, that that's what's happening. And that may generate a phone call from her. Sometimes you'll see that where they'll say, oh no, what's going on with my pension?
Right.
And you would want to give her the ability to contact you, and then you can explain, well, we bought an annuity, that will guarantee your pension and pay it going forward. Nothing else is changing. Everything else is the same, nothing you need to do. If you have any changes going forward, she can still reach out to you, but really she should be reaching out to the insurance company. But you may get that phone call, so, and when some individuals hear the word annuity, it sometimes has a negative connotation because of the different types of annuities out there that people have, had bad experiences with. That is not this product. This product is essentially the pension being guaranteed and administered. There's no investment risk. There's no withdrawal penalties. You can't withdraw. This is irrevocable, non-transferable. With the pension, it's just now guaranteed by the insurance company. So if she does reach out and has concerns, you can mention that. You can mention that it's insured by the Florida State Guarantee Association. So if something were to happen to the insurance company, her benefit is fully protected. And if she wants, we're happy to talk with her too if she had any questions on that. But that letter notifying her what's going on may result in a phone call because of the reliance and security that they have on and the pensions provide. You might see that.
Okay.
So they are gonna send the letter to you, or they personally, are they gonna mail her the letter?
We are going to give you the letter to mail. We want it to come from you, letterhead, if you can do it, so it's recognizable and she opens it. Because we want her to read it so she knows that something's coming from the insurance company.
So that would be something that we could send from the city here? Is that?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I know she would definitely,
And I'll give her a call,
Right.
give her a heads up on it as well.
oh, perfect.
I'll give her
That's another good idea.
Great.
to expect a letter from the city who records
Mhm.
the pension, the changes to the pension.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
I give her a heads up.
And Sheila, if you want to, give her my number too, she can call me.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll talk to her too if she has questions.
Yes, ma'am.
That's perfect.
But I'm sure that nothing's changing, the pension isn't going away or reducing or anything. It's just now being administered by an insurance company.
Yes.
Perfect. Sounds good.
So we'll be able to, our carrier Jeff, just give the direct deposit information that we currently, the pension funds currently using, and they'll make those, the transfers.
Okay.
Yeah, we want that as soon as possible so that we can get them set up, so that those 10-1 payments arrive on time.
Great.
Sounds good.
We can get started on Monday morning. So, I think, we have kind of three things that we need to do. One is to, choose a company. Two is to direct liquidation of the assets to purchase the annuity. And three, to, contact or to direct that the payment be stopped from our custodian. That September was the last payment that they need to make. And I guess, just prospect wise, should we wait until we have the kind of the answer from whoever we choose, that, they're set up and good to go before we stop?
Yes. That's typically what we advise, and in the rare instance that that would happen, the plan would make the payment, the insurance company would reimburse the plan.
Okay, all right, yeah, that was actually gonna be one of my questions, but you just totally answered it for me, so.
So what you want to do is alert the custodian, when you alert them about liquidation, that this is going on, and find out when they need to know, when the deadline they need to know, when they can turn off payments. Because sometimes they'll set up payments 2 weeks in advance, and then 1 week in advance, they'll release the payment, and it'll get staged or whatever. Direct deposit, that's usually with a check when it does that because of mail time and stuff, but direct deposit is probably a little less time sensitive, but you want to try to find out when's your deadline for turning off payments.
Okay. That would be something we would look for. I think our payments come from Bank of New York.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Mhm.
Good.
Is that where the assets are? That's where your liquidation request will go?
I believe so, yes.
I believe so.
When you reach out about liquidating, when you, I feel like we're in Florida, it just started pouring, the sun and now it's pouring. When you advise them about the liquidation, ask that question as well. Say, we're purchasing an annuity that's gonna start 10/1. We wanna make sure that it's a go before we tell you to turn things off, so when do you need to know that by?
Okay.
Okay, so, I think, if you all are ready, then we could, have a motion to, select, and, fill in the blank for me of the name of the company that you want to use. I know you talked about Principal, so.
Well, I would, just a little bit more discussion. I would say that we would want to, just because of the nature of our group, I would make a motion that we use Principal because it's the one that's gonna be the easiest to transfer. It sounds like it's gonna be the easiest for us to work with, to get things going in a timely manner, so. That's just my thought.
That makes sense to me. The only thing that I've never heard of Principal. But the easiest for us, I think, is the best way to go. As far as cost, they're the same,
Yeah.
basically.
And the fact that it is still state.
And just one other question. Is this monthly benefits, are they that way forever and ever, or is there a cost of living increase or anything goes with it? I get a cost of living increase.
There's no cost of living that was in the pension plan, so these benefits will remain this amount
Okay.
forever and ever, unless the city makes a change. And just for your information, Al, I work with Principal, not necessarily from the annuity standpoint, but they do some investment management with real estate companies. I deal with Principal, actually our firm uses Principal for our dental insurance.
We do too. Yeah,
So there's,
the city use Principal for their dental and vision as well.
okay.
We're one of the biggest retirement plan providers in the country. With Fidelity, we have Empower, there's another insurance company, Principal. I believe are probably the top 3 retirement plan providers in the country. They're out of Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah, we've been out to visit with them as well as all the carriers actually, but they're out, as Jeff mentioned, Des Moines and, out in the Midwest. But, yeah, good carrier.
So I think we have a motion to go with Principal, and if I take Al's agreement as a second,
Second.
then I think we're ready to vote, unless anybody wants to have, more discussion.
Well, I think we're good to vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, and the second item is that we need to, liquidate sufficient assets, to purchase the annuity and, set up the transfer to make that particular purchase. So somebody can say so moved.
Say so moved.
Yeah, so in other words, rather than repeating what I just said, you're just moving what I said.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
All in favor?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then, the last is a motion to, direct Bank of New York, to stop the payments from the fund, once we've received confirmation from principal, that they will start the annuity payments on October 1st.
So moved.
And somebody can,
Sheila, you got a second for that?
Second.
Yes, second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 great. Carrie, Jeff, anything else that I didn't think of?
I think you covered it. The only question I have is, and I'll complete most of the form. Is there a person, or I should say, who will be the person signing on behalf of the plan?
Okay.
Or I can leave that blank and then you fill it in, that works okay too.
All right, so just to clarify, we're the ones that need to initiate with Bank of New York, right? That we're buying this annuity, it's X amount of dollars, we need money, transferred to them.
So what I'll do is I'll work with Jennifer, investment consultant,
Okay.
to get a letter together to, that, we can provide the Bank of New York,
Perfect.
directing them to liquidate the assets. So $293,458.43, to purchase the annuity. I'm imagining, Carrie and Jeff, that I'll need information from you for that letter so we can direct them where to send it.
Yes, I'll provide you with a paper that lists all the wire information for the transfer.
Okay, great. And so, she'll put together that letter. I'll work with her on that. I think what we need from you all is, somebody to contact, someone with authority to contact, Bank of New York to find out what their deadline is, to stop that October payment, and to tell them what's going on.
Okay,
And then, we'll get that letter, somebody's gonna have to sign it that has signing authority with Bank of New York, so that, they'll take that particular direction. And then, file that document with Bank of New York so that we can get that in process.
okay,
I know that the investments are largely held in mutual funds, so we should have pretty quick settlement, by Friday-ish, I'm guessing, let's say 3 days. We get this all accomplished on Monday.
okay. I can try to make those phone calls on Monday to Bank of New York, and find out.
We'll have to reach out to, his name is Dean, that is Carson City, that's all our paperwork, everything, reimbursement, everything goes to him. So I have all his information, his mailing information, so.
Okay, perfect.
And Robert, you might have to do that from the city because, my guess is that there's somebody who is authorized to sign things, and they may not speak to you directly.
Okay. I know in the
Unless
past.
your name is.
Okay, all right, so, she will take care of that then.
I will check on it, I believe his name, I believe it is, but I will double check.
Okay, great.
I will double check with Dean, but I believe his name is on the paperwork.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then, the other thing that we'll need to do, is gather for Carrie, the information about the original benefit approval. So, the documentation about, who, what, when, where, and, the identification information, paperwork that we have. So that Carrie can begin talking to principal.
Yeah, I think, should we have folders on all that? We have folders on all that paperwork that we filled out originally.
Yes, yes, I still have all of those folders with all of that information, yes.
Perfect, great.
Yes.
I know that Ms. Schultz was fairly recently that you set her up.
Yeah.
And I will probably,
I have a folder with her information and stuff, so I have those folders.
okay, great.
Should we have like an election form where she shows her benefit?
So she's the survivor,
Yes, yes.
so that's why she's the single life annuity. She's the survivor of a former police officer who passed away, while getting the plan, so.
That's why one of our concerns is making sure she's taken care of, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what else do we need to do?
I think that's it. So I'd like to extend a big thank you to the Dietrich Group for, putting this all together, for making it very simple. I really appreciate it. I was commenting that I said I felt like the annuity quote, really came in lower than I was anticipating and, really a tight range, for you all. I think, it helps to make the decision easier. Thank you, board, for meeting today, late on a Friday. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you as well, Bonnie. Everything you've done for us has been fantastic, and the presentation that you guys gave today, to go over this, because it's something that's not necessarily you can go over every day. It was very simple and easy to understand, and I really appreciate that.
And I'll speak for Dietrich. Thank you. You're welcome, Bonnie. We appreciate you guys. Have been great to work with, very professional. And I'm glad that we could assist and you guys to completion of this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good weekend.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now,
Bye-bye.
Is now exiting.